Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody sweat the lack of flames. No,
living my life to the fullest and shout out my halala to the fullest. Let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights as long as
Hello, bonjour and bonani. Welcome to Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. It is so significant to have a positive mindset, especially under these circumstances. So this network has the potential to completely revolutionize every aspect of your life and career. My name is Nompumelelo Riel Bunene. I'm going to be your host for today. So if you're watching us online, please feel free to put in the chat box where you're watching us from and what you hope to achieve from our podcast. Today, we are surrounded by greatness in the World Wide Web. We have amazing speakers who's going to share some nuggets on human rights. In San Francisco, California, we have Shahib Ayadi. And in Alabama, we have Stacey Lewis. At this moment, I'll just let our speakers to introduce themselves. So you can go ahead, Shahib. Unmute yourself.
All right. Hey, how you doing? So I'm glad to be here. Fortunate, really, to be here. It's my pleasure to join this group today and explain a little bit about the Article 13 and Article 14 of human rights. But before that, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Shakib Ayadi. I'm an activist based in San Francisco, California. I'm a human rights instructor and activist for a very long time here, founder of Tunisian American Foundation, and worked on so many projects here in San Francisco, currently working as autonomous specialist with Transdev on site at Waymo. And I want to tell you a little bit now about human rights, and I want to answer some questions that people may have about human rights, and I want to give like clear clarification on the Article 13 and 14. And I want to start ahead by answering very like startup question, a little bit for a warm up. And I want to talk about human rights, which are the basic rights that belong to all of us simply because we are human. They embody the value in our society, such as fairness, dignity, equity, equality, and respect. So those are the value of human rights, why we're doing that and what we are fighting for. And most importantly, those rights give us power to enable us to speak up and to challenge poor treatment from the public authority. So basically, I want to remind everybody to speak up. Do not forget that you have rights. And I want to explain what this human rights mean. Actually, human rights are the basic rights and freedom that belong to every person in the world from birth until death. Do never forget that. It belongs to you from birth to death. Those basic rights are based on shared value like dignity, fairness, equity, respect, and independence. Those values are defined and protected by the law. And I want to answer some questions that I usually get of why do our rights matter? And I want to explain and state that human rights are very important and to remind us of our duty, basically, and our obligations. But they are also important as programmatic guide to ensure to our health policies and programs are the best they can be and could reach everyone and each one, particularly those who need the most, but often outside their margin. So basically, some people may ask here, who is responsible to protect human rights? And I want to say, as the official response should be in this case is the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner of Human Rights has led responsibility in the United Nations system for the promotion and protection of human rights. The office supports the human rights component of peacekeeping mission in peacekeeping mission in several countries and has many country and regional offices and centers. So you may find those offices somewhere around your country where you live in. Please look for them, seek help, speak up, and get involved. And I want to talk a little bit about Article 13 of Human Rights Act, which state that everyone has a right to freedom of movement and residence within the border of each state. And everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his own country. So basically, if you want to leave your country, you do have the right based on the Article 13 of Human Rights Act. You have the right to leave your country. You have the right to get back to your country. And Article 13 underpins the right to seek safety in another part of the country and the right of IDPs to find a lasting solution by returning to where they used to live, sitting where they found safety, or sitting somewhere else in the country. So safety is number one priority in here. And remember, it's our responsibility to keep every and each one safe. And it's always time to enforce Article 13 of the United Nations of 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the right to travel. And Article 13 of the United Nations states the following. Excuse me. Everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the border of each state. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country. Hold this idea in your head for a brief moment. Make sure do not forget that, and always know your right. That's the most important part in this. And about Article 13, I want to elaborate and say that liberty of movement is an indispensable condition for the free development of a person. This is the Freedom of Movement Amendment adopted by the United Nations Rights Committee and the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights in 1999. The idea that freedom of movement is indispensable to one's personal development raise an interesting point when you place into the context of our globalized and interconnected world. While power had be obsessed over the importance of development, what would happen if the world gave as much importance to the latter as it did to the former? Ask yourself that question. What would happen if we took Article 13 much more seriously with regards to the benefit to our society, and what could recap if we implemented a global travel initiative aimed at nurturing the better angels within ourselves? After all, those that are far more things that unite us than divide us. Let's be united. Let's get together. Let's fight for our rights. It's very important to always know and understand that things that bring us together, keep us united, it's more than anything that could divide us. It's time to celebrate this unity by taking Article 13 seriously once and for all. In April 2010, the European Union declared that travel and tourism is basic human rights. And I like to explain why travel is an essential component to life in the modern world. I believe that, travel is really a moral imperative, and that we live in a globalized world. Some people don't like that, but it's true. And that when we close ourselves off from other places and don't encounter them and don't experience them, we don't understand the world. We should understand the world we live in it. That's why we should travel. We should, go places. And I like to continue with the wise distinction between tourism and travel, because those are two different things. And I want to state that tourism is one thing, but travel is something entirely its own. And of all its benefit, travel is perhaps most influential on how shapes the mind of young children. So travel affects our life. We get to know new things and we get to experience new things, and it's very important. So make sure you don't forget that you do have rights. This Article 13, it's very important, and please, go activist and exercise your right. Know that you have rights. Read them. Dig deep into this. It's just a very quick overview about Article 13, and I want to tell you something about Article 14 now, which is the right to asylum. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 14, states everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other country asylum from persecution. This right may not be invoked in the case of persecution generally arising from non-political crimes or from acts contrary to the purpose and principle of the United Nations. The Article 14, absolute right. And some people may want to ask that question, what is the absolute right of the Article 14? And I can say that Article 14 does not provide a freestanding right to non-discrimination. So please put that in mind. But it requires that people are able to secure all other things in the convention without discrimination. It's very important to know that. And some people may ask, like usually I get this question a lot, what type of right is Article 14? And by explaining that, I always want to say that the Article 14 requires that all of the rights and freedoms set out in the Act must be protected and applied without discrimination. Discrimination occurs when you are treated less favorably than other person in a similar situation, and this treatment cannot be objectively and reasonably justified. So make sure to read about this, dig down about it. It's very important. Article 14, right of asylum. In 1950, 2 years after the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it created the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. The agency was to have 3 years to help the million of Europeans who had fled or lost their homes during this, the Second World War, and then was to be disbanded. Article 14 of the human rights grants the right to seek and enjoy asylum from persecution, the right in addition to the right to leave one country. That was Article 13, and the right to nationality, which is Article 15, and it can be traced directly to event to the Holocaust. Many countries worse drafted worked with the UDHR were actually aware that they had turned away Jewish refugees, like condemning them to death. In addition, many Jews, Roma, and other hunted by the Nazis had been enabled to leave Germany to save their lives. So basically, people must know that they do have life. Let's say should know that they have life, and under the umbrella of Article 14, more fully articulated in the 1951 Refugee Convention. Over the decade, millions of people have been given life-saving protection, and refugees being able to rebuild their lives and often have gone home again once the danger has passed. So if there is no more danger, those guys, they should be allowed to get back to their home country, and it's all about their own safety. As human, we should care about human rights, and this Article 14 specifically. And many have also been wrestled in dangerous third country where they use their skills to contribute to their new homeland. And some can settle permanently in the country where they found refugee. Like more than 170,000 Bulgarians were fled the country in 1972 and received Tanzanian citizenship in what it's believed to be the world's biggest naturalization of refugees. So big clap for Tanzania. Thanks for them all. They did the right thing, obviously. And the right to seek asylum is not unfettered. Article 14 makes it clear, like people cannot be granted asylum simply to avoid persecution for non-political crimes or acts contrary to the purposes of and principles of the United Nations. So there is that guideline limit in there, and war criminals and those guilty of a crime against the peace or a crime against humanity do not qualify for asylum. So make sure you know what you qualify for, and I'd like to recap here and talk a little bit about cross-border displacement, including migrant, like asylum seekers and refugee has become hugely around the world. I mean, a huge number around the world in recent years in order to exercise the right articulated in Article 14. And I remember that quote from the United Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. He said, start quote, we can't deter people fleeing from their lives, they will come. The choice we have is how well we manage their arrivals and how humanely, end quote. So make sure you always remember that. It's very important. We all should know this and dig a little bit down to get to know a little bit more about this information. I believe it's very valuable information. And I want to say about advocate what they say about this fleeing people, and will continue to flee because of the dangers behind them, regardless of the danger and obstacle that lies ahead, despite efforts to erect a fortress Europe. Refugee and migrant continue to risk their lives is injury-worthy boat trying to cross the Mediterranean to Europe. Since 2014, every year, at least 3,000 have lost their life in this way. And in 2016, nearly 5,000 people died in the sea. Many others perished during overland journey. People trying to cross the border illegally through the sea, through the ocean, through Mediterranean, trying to go from Africa to Europe, for example, and from many places to others, like seeking safety. And they should know that they have the right to change their own country, basically to go to different country and to get back to their own country. And country have the right to control their borders. That's right, we all agree with that. However, as the United Nations has been pointing out for years, an orderly migrant system granted in the human rights principles will not only address country legitimate security concerns, but would also honor the right that being to both refugees and migrants. In 2016, the 193 member states of the United Nations unanimously adopted the New York Declaration of Refugee and Migrants to protect those forced to flee and support countries that shelter them. So basically, if you live in a country, you don't feel safe, you are forced, whether by the government, politician, country, any unfair or injustice treatment against you, you have the right, based on this adopted declaration on New York in 2016, you have the right to go to different countries, seek immigration, and those countries who welcome you, they get some good benefits, a global compact on refugee and global compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration. That's what we want. We want like people will be able to travel globally and seek their safe place or safe haven, let's say. Many people who have clear protection needs and leave their home for reasons beyond their control are not granted asylum because they do not fall under the accepted definition of refugee, so-called climate refugee. Some people want to just seek asylum because of climate reasons. I do agree with them sometimes because there is some severe climate, let's say, change happen around some country in the world, like the statistics in internal from like 2008, 2016, they concluded that weather-related disaster displaced on average 21.7 million people within their own country every year, and they're trying to flee the country. And this does not include problems that build more slowly because more insidious form the climate change. So such as, let's say, for just an example, raising sea levels or groundwater turning salty. And some people don't have the basic needs for their own life based on the environment or climate change or something like that. So those guys, make sure you know what you're right, what category you fall into, and if you can be granted this asylum based on the Article 14. And similarly, people displaced by famine in many cases not considered refugees within the definition of 1951 Refugee Convention. And I want you here to go back and look for the definition of 1951 Refugee Convention, what it states, what's in there. So give you a better idea, clarification about what your rights is, about Article 14. And once again, I'd like to say that this is very important. And to end this Article 14, I want to just say at the very end, the global impact for migration calls on country to cooperate to identify, develop, and strengthen solutions for migrants compelled to leave their countries of origin owing to slow onset natural disaster. The adverse effect of climate change and environmental degradation for such people not able to return to their home country solution visionized in the compact including planned relocation and new visa options. So make sure that you guys check your visa options, check what those countries you want to go to seek safety, what they provide, and know your right. Know your right. So basically, if I have a board that just right back here in this wall behind me, 1, 2, 3, go activism all together. Make sure you have right. Do not forget about this. Dig down, dig deep down and ask people, ask professionals. It's been very pleasure to be here. I'm sorry I have very tight time. I gotta go now. I'm basically at the office, so I want to thank everybody who is here today. I do appreciate you all. Thank you all for what you're doing, and go activism. Please dig down, know your right, and be an advocate for human rights. This is a good thing, to do for humanity. And don't ever think just only about yourself. Think about everybody. We're all human, living all together on this planet. We should keep ourselves safe and keep the planet safe as well. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your time, guys, and thanks for listening. You have a beautiful day and enjoy your weekend. We have Friday here, so coming up is a weekend. Thank you all. Gotta go now. Sorry. So, well, actually, before I go, one last thing. If you guys have any question to me, please do not hesitate to contact me through my email, on my LinkedIn, or on Facebook. Any media, you'll find me somewhere there. Shakib Ayadi, I'm human rights advocate, basically instructor. And if you have any question at all, please do not hesitate to contact me at any time. I'll be there available to help you, to give a little bit more clarification. And thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.
Wow, Shakib. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for outlining why human rights is so important. And
Thanks.
also to touch base on freedom to
Absolutely.
move and the right to seek a safe place to live. You've really
Absolutely.
shared the
Awesome.
most needed information. Thank you so much, Shakib.
Thanks. I appreciate you. All right. Gotta go now. Thanks. Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, I also think that Shai was really, really hungry because he just went straight to the information instead of introducing himself. But thank you, Shai, for whenever you watch the replay. I really appreciate your knowledge, your experience, and everything that you've shared with us. So, but before we continue, I have a question for you. I see Pumolo is already here. I have a question for you, Pumolo. If you happen to have your own billboard, I know your billboard is coming in the busy street of California. What will your billboard say?
My billboard. Okay, that caught me off guard. So my billboard would say, victim to victors.
Wow, I love that.
Yes.
I love
So
that.
it's a short sentence, but very rich,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, because a lot of us, we have been victims in so many things in our lives, but we have overcome that. So that billboard, I think, is going to apply to almost anybody, because every day we are overcoming something in our lives, or we have overcome something in our lives. Mm-hmm. So it's a positive message to encourage everyone. We have been through a pandemic, and we have faced challenges, especially in the last year. So I think that my billboard is going to resonate with almost everyone because we are victors.
Yeah, I love that. How about you, Stacey?
So if I were to have a billboard created, my billboard would simply say, because you exist, you matter. And that's why we have human rights.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And I think mine will be the fourth billboard by the highway. So it's gonna be Shahir, Pumolo, Stacy, and mine will be the fourth one. Yeah. Okay. I know this is quite a sensitive subject to discuss. So we have a disclaimer. Rise to Greater Heights Network is only here to provide information about human rights to the public. Legal information is not the same as legal advice as to the application of law to an individual's specific circumstances. So we cannot offer any legal advice to those who are watching us. We cannot offer legal advice in response to specific questions. So we can strongly recommend that you contact your own lawyer if you need information on such. So at this moment, Pumula is going to be our next speaker. I hope you are ready, my sister from another madam. So Pumula is originally from Zambia, but she's now based in the USA. She's a single mother of 3 beautiful adults, independent princesses, and 1 grandson. And the girls have already graduated with bachelor's degrees from state universities in the USA. Pumolo escaped domestic violence from Zambia 20 years ago as a young mother, leaving the 3 beautiful girls behind. Her background is an educator, corporate America, human resources admin, political activist, certified human rights consultant, and a founder and CEO of Global Human Rights Alliance. Her goal is to create generational wealth through knowledge, empowerment to change mindsets, networking, and political advocacy, which is promoting free and fair elections, advocate for better maternity and sanitary care for the mothers and girls, as well as investing in human beings is her legacy. So kings and queens, help me to welcome Pumulo Situmbeko.
Thank you. Thank you, Rial. I don't know how to address you, Rial or Pumelelo, Nampumelelo.
Any works for you because you can master my first name. Yeah.
I'll just call you Nampumelelo. It's close to my name.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity of being here today to speak on human rights. And my task today, I'm going to talk about article number 15 and article number 16. So article number 15 talks about nationality, and article number 16 talks about the right to marry and have a family. So I'm gonna start with the article number 15. So according to the Universal Rights Declaration, all of us, we have a right to a nationality, but a right to nationality is something we take for granted because we think just because I have my nationality, I think everyone has a nationality, but that's not the case. I'm going to quote here, according to the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, there are about almost 12 million people in the world without a nationality. I'll just read the quote. Most of us can acquire an ID, passport, and other documents without any problem. But around the world, some 3.9 million are officially without nationality, and the UN Refugee Agency estimates the true figure could be 3 times higher. So you see, guys, it's really sad that, you know, things we take for granted, some people don't have. So there are 12 million people out there without a nationality. And these people, they suffer grossly because without a nationality, without an ID, you can not have a job, you cannot go to school, you cannot travel. So these are the problems that some of our humans around the world are facing. And we are here to advocate because according to the UN article number 15, everyone is entitled to get a nationality. So how do we gain a nationality? We gain a nationality, the common way we gain a nationality is through our origins or our own or ancestors. Like, for example, I'm originally from Zambia, so I have a Zambian nationality, and then I'm here in America. If I had a child here in America, if I gave birth to children, they would automatically have American nationality. So that's number one. We gain nationality through origins, that is through our ancestors and birth. And the second way we gain nationality is through naturalization. And in naturalizations, we can gain nationality through marriage, political asylum, and immigration. So what I wanted to say here is that a lot of things are happening around the world. Most people around the world, they are not comfortable in their countries that they actually live. So they are being persecuted, maybe for political reasons, or such as myself, when I left Zambia, it wasn't a good time for me to be in Zambia because of what I was going through. And I made a choice to leave Zambia. And because I knew my rights, I made a decision to immigrate to the United States. So our job as human rights consultants or advocates is to give people this information so that if they need to move to another country, if they need to immigrate for various reasons, it could be domestic, it could be political, we need to make people aware that they have a choice to live anywhere they want to live. We have to educate people that they cannot be denied or deprived their nationality. You know, around the world, there are so many dictatorship governments, and you know, they are withdrawing or denouncing their own nationals, and all these people, they end up without a nationality. A good example is what is happening currently. We have seen the immigration train, which is currently headed to the United States from South America. So those people, they have left their country, and the country could end up denouncing them, meaning they will have no nationality. And then they end up in the United States illegally, so they'll be here without a nationality. So we have a lot of problems, especially here in the United States and around the world, of people leaving their countries just to find a safety for their families, you know, many reasons. But when they arrive in these countries where they are supposed to seek political asylum or to change their nationality, they are not accorded the opportunity to change their nationality. So that's why we are here to say there are rights. It's your right to have a nationality and your right to apply for a nationality. So in other words, as human beings, as people around the world, if we decide to emigrate, we should follow the right channels to emigrate, so that when we arrive in the countries where we want to live, we can obtain a nationality, we can obtain an ID. An ID is very important document because it gives us access to so many things that we need to survive, just including simple things like getting medical care. You know, you need an identification, and you can only get an identification if you have a nationality. So guys, let's not take these things for granted. Our nationalities are very valuable, and there are people out there who do not have a nationality because they left their countries of origin and they're in foreign lands and they are living as invisible persons, you know, they cannot access anything. So as human rights advocates, let's try and find these people in our communities and see how we can help them. So that's what I wanted to say on the nationality. Just on that nationality subject, myself, I can say that I've been a beneficiary. I've been blessed to have two nationalities. I have my Zambian nationality, I have my American nationality, and right now I'm working on my third nationality. So possibly I'm going to have my Irish nationality. I'm going to have my European passport because I'll be getting married to an Irish guy. So you see, like I never thought in my whole life that I will own 3 powerful nationalities, you know. So this is the power of human rights. When I left Zambia 20 years ago, I never dreamt that I would have 3 nationalities to my name. That being said, other people do not have a nationality. There are people who are suffering, you know. So that's why we are here, guys. Myself, I've formed a Global Human Rights Alliance. And one of our goals is to
You're muted, Kamola. We can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
this right, as we all know, after the Second World War, it was formed in response to the Nazis' law prohibiting interracial marriages. So this law, you guys, is like really, really hitting home. You know, it's still going on. You know, people cannot marry from outside their cultures. You know, they cannot marry outside their religion. They cannot marry outside their race. And like like in Zambia, when I'm growing up, I had a friend. She was dating an Indian, a guy of an Indian culture. So they had to leave Zambia and go to live in Europe. They actually relocated to go live in Europe because his family, the guy's family, was Indian and they lived in Zambia and they could not accept my friend who was Zambian. So they moved from Zambia to go live in an environment where they were accepted. And that was back in the day, in the 80s. But in 1996, Zambia adopted the Declaration of the Human Rights and made it part of the Constitution. So a lot of things changed in Zambia as Zambia adopted the Human Rights Declaration and made it part of the Constitution. But now people, they can marry whomever they want in Zambia. But I'm just giving an example where some of these, some people, they cannot marry whom they want based on culture, religion, and the United Nations has made this a right. So you guys, we have to share this in our communities. Let the young people know they can marry anyone of their choice without any restriction. And the other part 2 of the Article 16 regarding marriage, it's about the underage marriages. So this is a really big problem. The underage marriage is a really big problem because I can relate to that. When I was growing up, I was in high school, we'll just see one girl disappear for 2-3 days. And the next day we were told, no, her parents married her off. So again, it's illegal to marry for underage marriages according to the United Nations. I shall just read a quote from them, from the UN. Marriage shall be entered into only with free and full consent of intending spouses. So which means that if somebody decides to get married, they should be of age, they should be aware what they are doing, and they should consent it. So it's illegal to force anyone into a marriage. So there's a lot of arranged marriages where people are being forced to marry a person they don't want, because some cultures, they are really strict. They just want people to marry people from their tribe or from their culture or from their race. So all that kind of influence or forcing young girls into early marriages or arranged marriages is illegal. And if if you know such of a person who is being forced, they can seek help from people such as myself or many other organizations around the world that are there to protect young girls from these arranged marriages and underage marriages. So guys, we have a big task, and myself, I care because being a teacher, I have realized that a lot of people, especially in Africa, they don't know their rights. They don't have education. They don't have information. So it's our duty as part of humanity to, shine the light however we can, just come up, organize ourselves, however we can organize ourselves. In fact, since the pandemic, I think things are much better because we are all on the global social media. We are connecting with people we never thought we would meet. A good example is just today, right now. So it's amazing. Like the pandemic has brought bad things, but there's tremendous benefits of the pandemic because it has brought us together. The whole world has come together as one. We are able to meet on social media platforms and have programs, discussions such as we are doing right now, and we are going to change things. Like my Global Human Rights Alliance, I just started it in the pandemic, and I'm so excited because I'm going to touch so many lives around the world. It's a network of us. There are people in Europe, in Africa, in Canada, and we are looking like all over the world. If you have our sharing our same passion, sharing our same vision of, improving maternity care, improving maternity care and sanitary care for young girls, you are welcome to join us. You can find me on Facebook. I go by Queen Pumi, and you can find me. I have a YouTube channel. I go by Queen Pumi as well. But you guys, human rights is like we are all born free and equal, and we have to promote our human rights. So I'm an advocate by nature. Naturally, it's been in me. So when the opportunity came to get my certification, I'm like, this is what I've been doing all my life. I've been advocating for myself. First of all, I've been advocating for myself.
Okay, I think we lost Pumolo, but she was almost at the end, I believe. Can you hear me, Pumolo?
Yeah, I was muted. Am I okay now?
Yes, you're okay.
Okay, so I'm just winding out. I know I'm out of time, but I just want to end by saying we are each other's keeper, and let's look out for each other, especially in places like Africa, where education is like a luxury. There are some parts of Africa where there are no schools, or the schools are too far away. There are so many problems for somebody just to sit in a classroom. So let's use social media, this platform, to fight for those causes, to influence governments, to influence decision makers, to pool resources, to train people in communities, and just share information, because knowledge is power.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mula, for such a timely message. And yes, the change that we want to see in this world must first begin with us. We are the change. We are the change makers. We are the masters, because we are the piece from a master. So we are the masterpiece. Thank you so much, Apomolo. I believe that the right to a nationality serves as the basis for the enjoyment of many other human rights that we have out there. And thank you so much for sharing such a timely message on nationality and the way you'll have to choose whom to marry. Thank you. Thank you so much. So our next speaker is going to be Stacey Lewis. Stacey Lewis is the founder and director of Birmingham Jumpstart Inc. He is a certified nonprofit executive, CNE, and this year his most recent accomplishment has been completing his human rights training and education. With a 20-year career in the restaurant industry, he has been working with the public and people to understand how we are all wired differently, and yet how we're also the same at our general core. He made the decision to continue to work with the public as a means to help share the love of God and to inspire each person to become the best version of themselves through all the flaws and shortcomings that we all embody. As a public speaker, he feels that it is his job to educate the public about their human rights. So through his nonprofit work, his organization teaches adults how to read, write, and speak English. They also prepare adults to get their GED exam to learn English as a second language, or which we call it ESL. They also offer help with becoming a citizen, and he teaches workforce readiness to adults. So, kings and queens, help me to welcome Stacey Lewis.
Thank you so much for having me this morning. I am so excited to be here. It is a pleasure just to be among such great people, honestly, great minds, and how we can all come together to talk about human rights, its importance, why it's necessary, and honestly, how we can help others to enjoy what we enjoy, because sometimes people just need an advocate. With that, I am going to talk about human rights number 17 and number 18, and I want to read number 17. It says, the right to own your own things. Everyone has the right to own things and share them. Nobody should take our things from us without a good reason. Let's talk about owning our own things. Through our nonprofit work, we work with people and we want to help them learn English language in a way that is meaningful, that will help them to understand that they too have rights. It will help them to understand that they are also able to now enjoy the benefits, because reading and writing and knowing how to do so is freedom. There is freedom in literacy. And so we really believe that the best way to help people understand human rights number 17 is through first understanding, in this instance, I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, understanding the English language. And now let's help them get jobs. Let's help them earn their own things. They have the right to keep their own things. And it is something that is liberating about that. It is something liberating when you can say to a fellow human being, hey, I worked and I earned this, I own this. And honestly, you have the right to own and enjoy your own things. Human rights are important because sometimes as people, and I'm speaking as a whole, we have a tendency to maybe not necessarily do right by others. So these rights are in place to help us, to ensure that we are on the right track, that we're doing the right thing for our fellow human beings. Because there's only one race at the end of the day, and that race is the human race. There are divisions in the human race, but at its core, there's one race, the human race. We all bleed the same red blood. We have to understand that as much as we are different, we are also the same. That is important because I want to talk about human rights number 18, and it's the freedom of thought. The freedom of thought says that we all have the right to believe in what we want to believe, to have a religion, or to change it if we want. I would like to read that again. We all have the right to believe in what we want to believe, to have religion, or to change it if we desire. Through our nonprofit work, we teach the importance and the power of thought. We want to ensure that people understand that they have the right to make a decision for themselves as it regards religion, as it regards politics, as it regards their own life. As such, Human Rights number 18 ensures that we have that right. Again, as human beings, the human rights are here to remind us of how we should treat one another in the sense of a political standpoint on a global level. It is there so that we can show each other, you have these rights. And in that sense, we all therefore become miniature, if you will, human rights advocates in our own way, through what we do, through what we've learned, through what we know. It is so important that we share, and that if we see someone that needs our help, help them. At its core, the human rights can be summed up by simply saying the rights that you have that cannot be taken, period. The rights that you have that if you understand them and you realize someone around you does not understand or is being taken advantage of, help them. We are of the human race. One race, the human race. Yes, we have divisions within that race. Yes, we have nationalities. We have all of these facts and facets about the human race. But at the core, there's only one race. Now, as I conclude, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the freedom of thought. The freedom of thought is so important because it says that, Riel and Ms. Pumela, I don't have to believe what you believe. However, if I choose to do so, I have the right to do that. You don't have to believe the way I believe. You don't have to do what I do. And I don't want to get into Human Rights number 19, but my freedom of expression, my human rights to do so, allows me the freedom to simply change my mind. Through Birmingham Jumpstart, which is a nonprofit that I love, I am the founder, but it's the people that we help, the people that come and volunteer with our program. We all believe that we have the freedom of thought. I can almost tell you with absolute certainty, we all have a different way in how we believe. But when we come together as a nonprofit organization to help an adult, all of those things are put aside for one reason, one cause, and that is to help that adult learner learn a little bit more about how to read, write, and speak English. I want to repeat that. We lay aside our differences to come together to help that adult learn how to read, write, and speak English. Why is that important? Does it mean that my identity is now pushed away? No, it means that we come together for a common cause. The human rights that we have allows us to do just that. We come together, we can help and empower humanity. We are, in essence, human rights advocates. Some consciously through their companies, through their organizations, and some unconsciously because they just simply want to help people. No one that I know realistically likes to watch someone get abused, taken advantage of. And I would just simply close with a popular headline that's in the news. If you think about some of the testimonies of the people that were bystanding in the George Floyd case, for example, listen to their stories and their testimonies of the regret of how they're all saying one thing: I wish I would have did more. I wish I would have did this to prevent, especially knowing what the outcome is. At its core, we are human. We have human rights. The human rights are there. They cannot be taken away. They will not be changed. And I said this as my billboard, and I will close. Because you exist, because we exist, we matter, and human rights help enforce that. Thank you.
Wow, Stacey. Thank you. Thank you so much for such a timely message. And of course, we do have a right to put our thoughts and beliefs into action. Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing such a timely message to the audience. And so to our audience, to our viewers online, please feel free, if you have any questions for any of the speakers today, please feel free to put it in the chat box, and then we're going to be able to attend to your questions at the end of the podcast. So I'm going to be the next speaker, and yeah, I'm going to be the next speaker, and here is my bio for those who are able to listen before I speak.
Nonpumelelo Rial Kunene is a highly sought-after, energetic, certified Les Brown International speaker. She is the author and host to Rise to Greater Heights, a book and YouTube channel to turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. Rial is also a coach, mentor, and an MC, well known for encouraging many to rise from mediocrity into greatness. Her vision is not only to motivate, but also to empower audiences with a fresh perspective, inspiration they require to pursue success and drive sustainable outcomes in a seriously funny way. Rial believes that we are in full control of our choices. Her mission is to meet the needs and transform lives of her clients and her audience. Rial's book, Rise to Greater Heights, has inspired and empowered many to pursue their personal and professional passion to become go-getters. Her goal is to study your current situation, identify limiting beliefs, then design a plan of inspired action to empower you to achieve specific outcomes in your life. Rial Kunene wears many hats as a professional certified sales manager, CEO, strategist, certified travel counselor, trainer, esthetician, philanthropist, diplomacy protocol officer, international human rights analyst, and a commissioner for OAS. Following her dreams gave her purpose to see her goals through and understand that she does have everything she needs to reach her full potential. Her everyday message is that your journey to be a better person starts with you. So knowing who you are to your core will make you understand that you are the only one who can accomplish your dreams. Hebrews 11, Psalm 27 and 40. Keep her to rise to greater heights. Kings and queens, please join me. Welcome, Rial Kunene!
All right, enough about me. But before I continue, I just want to double check if I'm in the right platform here. How many of you with a raise of hand can say that, Nonpumelelo, I have never, ever complained in life? Never, ever complained in life. Seemingly, I'm in the right platform here because, you know, sometimes in life we go complaining about everything. Oh, the weather is really bad today. Traffic was worse than expected. The movie was really disappointing, you name it. Though whining can be a way to build an inspiration, it can also keep us from acting, and it gives excuses time to procrastinate from achieving goals. One thing I've realized is that we usually complain in the wake of a negative situation. We tend to focus more on the problem than finding a potential solution. It's always much easier to complain than to find a solution. And individuals who whine on a regular basis, they are apt to have a bad health. So next time we'll find you complaining that, why do pizzas come in square boxes? Yet they are round. And funny enough, they are cut in triangles. Does that sound like you? Yeah, please write this down. Write it down. What are human rights? What are human rights? Honestly, you don't have to be politically involved to learn about your human rights. All human beings are entitled to them, and you can never ever be excluded from them. As flight attendants always say that, put on your oxygen mask first before you assist others, because if you don't, you and the other person that you're trying to help could possibly go down. So I believe that today it's your time to gain more knowledge on human rights. To me, it was the death of George Floyd that made me realize that, you know, we need to stand for a world where no one shall live in fear because of the skin of their color, and the color of their skin, sorry, and where the criminal justice treats everyone fairly and equally. So on May 25th last year, George Floyd died in police custody in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This 46-year-old Black man was arrested and killed after a convenience store employee called 911 with Floyd suspicion of passing a counterfeit $20 bill. The video that was captured by a bystander shows that George Floyd was pinned face down on the ground and in handcuffs, and one of the police officers kneeling on his neck as he pleaded for help. I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And finally, he fell silent. May his soul rest in eternal peace. It's so impossible not to be outraged watching that video of that Minneapolis officer pressing his knee against Floyd's neck for a period initially reported of 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I believe that everyone is born free and has the right to live. So no one should ever be subject to such unjustified violence. Hence, I am here today to educate you, to educate everyone on their human rights. So good people, this is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call. But when the alarm clock goes off, please, please, don't ever hit the snooze button. Don't be like, you know what, I'll wake up in the next 2 minutes. I'll wake up in the next 4 minutes. You know what, forever is a long time. Why don't you wake up, get going, and know your human rights? In Article 13, I think it's Shakib who mentioned that the freedom of movement is restricted in many ways, even though some people and organizations advocate for an extension of the freedom of movement to include migration between the countries as well as within the countries. The right to leave any country includes even aliens, for crying out loud. Aliens who have been expelled. These aliens are entitled to choose their own state of destination, although they might be subject to the agreement of that state based on public health, order, or safety justifications. The right to live also includes the right to have a passport or any necessary travel documents, which is normally a positive duty of the state of nationality. However, states are entitled to hold the passport of someone who wants to leave the state because maybe they have a criminal prosecution or based on the purpose of expulsion. The state has a right to hold to that passport. I so wish that you can just tell yourself, I so wish that you can tell your neighbor, I so wish that you can tell yourself that, you know what, since all speakers have shared the nuggets on human rights, how important the human rights are, I'll have to make a difference. I'll have to make a difference within me. I'll have to make a difference in my community, to those around me, to those who look at you as an inspiration now. You'll have to make a difference. But in order for you to make that difference, you've got to be hungry. You have to have that hunger within you. You've got to be hungry, like the hungry lion in the jungle. With that hungry lion in the jungle, it doesn't matter what kind of animal comes his way. It doesn't matter if they are that giant elephant or that small squirrel by the jungle. All that hungry lion sees in front of his face is lunch to that lion. And it's so funny because even with elephants, when they see a lion, what they do is that they run. It's all about the mindset. Once you believe, you become. They already told themselves that I am a lunch to that lion. So each and every time when I see a lion, I love to run. So I believe that's the mindset that we need in order for us, to know more about human rights. Like Shakib mentioned that in Article 14 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it mentioned that that article grants the right to seek and enjoy asylum from persecution. However, those guilty of a crime against the peace of that country or crime against humanity doesn't qualify for any asylum. This right to seek asylum is not unfettered. In addition to the right to leave one's own country, it can be traced directly to the events that happened in the Holocaust. In order to exercise the rights articulated in this article, over the decades, millions of people have been given life-saving protection as refugees. But today, some countries around the world are slamming the doors shut and keeping out refugees. Many have also been able to recycle and generous third countries and are able to rebuild their lives, where they use their skills to contribute to their newfound homelands. Because my everyday book, it says that learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and plead the widow's cause. So I believe that every one of us here has a challenge. We've been challenged to spread the knowledge about human rights. The moment we gain more knowledge, the moment we'll have to share. in order for us to make this world a better place. I remember back in Kenya, if I'm not mistaken, the government of Kenya and the people of Kenya have been generously providing asylum for thousands of refugees. But back in January 2007, the government announced its intention to close the border to thousands of people fleeing armed conflict in Somalia. The border closure reflected a combination of a long-term frustration at the inadequacy of the international burden sharing, knowing that the world's biggest refugee camp is in Dadaab in northeastern Kenya. Since the border closure, the authorities violated international refugee law when they deported and detained asylum seekers without charge or trial and forcibly returned the Somalians back to Somalia. Forcing refugees to return to Somalia was also another violation of the principle of non-refoulement, because they have a right not to be refouled, forcibly returned to a place where they face a threat to life or freedom on account of race. Since they fled ongoing armed conflicts in fear for their lives, but later suffered a raft of another human rights abuses. You know, I believe that all of us have to seek passion. We always have to seek passion. Try by all means to know and get familiar on what's happening around human rights so that, you know, you can face the world with a positive mindset. And it's so funny how my mom and dad gave me this beautiful name, Nompumelelo. Nompumelelo in my own language, it means mother of success. So now you can see that I am really, really challenged to chase after success and be the change and make a difference in this world. In Article 15, it mentions that the right to a nationality serves as the basis for the enjoyment of many other rights, which was developed progressively throughout the 20th century. Determining to which nationality a person may have a right implies the right of each individual to acquire, change, and retain a nationality. Like how Kumulo mentioned that she might end up having like 3 different nationalities. How cool is that? Like it's like you own the whole world now. But states must comply with their human rights obligation concerning the granting and loss of nationality. However, in the case of stateless persons, the right to nationality has itself been rendered null or void. The right to a nationality is recognized in a series of international legal instruments, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which stipulates that it is for each state to determine by operation of domestic law who are its citizens. The issue of nationality is also regulated in the Convention of the Reduction of Statelessness, defining stateless person as a person who is not considered as a national by any state under the operation of its law. Sometimes it is the mere operation of incompatible nationality laws which leads to the statelessness. Hence, states shall introduce safeguards to prevent statelessness by granting their nationality to persons who would otherwise be stateless and are either born in their territory or are born abroad to one of their nationals. Also in Article 16, Phumulo mentioned that men and women of full age without any limitation due to the race, nationality, or religion have the right to marry and to find a family. And this article, honestly, it is just as straightforward as it is. You have a right, you are entitled to equal rights as to marriage, during marriage, and as its dissolution. Marriage shall not be entered into only with the free and full consent of the intending spouses. So this is something I know many of us were not aware of. Because in life, you really don't have to see the whole staircase, but you have to take the first step to get to the top. As my mentor always said, that you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to become great in life. Several human rights documents state that individuals are entitled to enjoy all their human rights without discrimination related to property. Although much accumulation of private property is indeed accomplished by force, often used against indigenous people, inhabitants of urban slums, or women. This article states that the right to property shall be guaranteed to anyone. However, despite these various clauses in international and regional documents, there is no elaborated international covenant covering all of their right to own or enjoy property. Stacey mentioned that freedom of religion or belief is guaranteed by Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which reveals that the public authorities cannot interfere with you, with your right to hold or change your beliefs. You have the right to put your thoughts and beliefs into action. But there are some situations in which public authorities can interfere with your right to manifest or show your thoughts, beliefs, and religion. Freedom of religion or belief has many dimensions, and it intersects with other human rights, of course, which is a fundamental right that you may not be abandoned even in times of public emergency. These freedoms are protected unconditionally, and public authorities cannot stop you practicing your religion without a very good reason. So good people, I would like to encourage you all to know your human rights. Know your human rights. Get to know what you deserve, what you were born with in this world. I remember when I was in the 8th grade, I was nicknamed Phoenix. I was nicknamed Phoenix after writing a composition using the idiomatic expression that says, I rose from the ashes like a phoenix bird, meaning I became successful again. For those of you who doesn't know the phoenix bird is a Greek mythological bird believed to rise from its own ashes after being buried hundreds of years ago. This immortal creature acquires new life by rising from the ashes of its own ancestor, which represents to us our capability of vision and success. So when your world comes crashing down, wear your scars and show how a phoenix feels like to die from inside, and trust in your own capability to rise from your own ashes. Since the phoenix has to burn first, experience pain before resurrection from its own ashes. In conclusion, please write this down. Resilience to greatness. Resilience to greatness. If I can be honest with you, I don't know what dreams you have for your future, but here is one thing I know about you. You are destined for greatness. Inside of you, God has put seeds of excellence. Those seeds are supposed to grow and flourish. But many people have become crippled by their past encounters, and some have stepped over other people to get to the top. But I believe that God has a better plan for every one of us. Your objective is what you are designed for, and the reason why you live today. With God, I believe that we are all destined for greatness as long as we follow His strategy. This is when the growth commences, because discovering your gift and following God's idea will make you understand that you have everything around you to reach to your full potential. My everyday inspiration, Mr. Les Brown, once said, if you had to die today, at this very moment, at this hour, what dreams, what ideas, what visions, what goals, what skills, what talents, and what books will die with you? And he also continued that the richest place on this planet is the cemetery, because that's where all the dreams, all the goals, all the visions have been buried. Honestly, I don't know about you, but with me, listening to this message, it gave me sleepless nights. And I am really, really proud today to introduce Rise to Greater Heights book before you. This is a comprehensive guide to turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. It is so significant to have a positive mindset, more especially in this COVID-19 pandemic. So this book has the potential to completely revolutionize every aspect of your life and career. And by the way, the legend himself, Les Brown, he wrote the foreword in this book, and I am really, really honored and humbled by that. And you can get this book for a family member or a loved one who just needs that inspiration to face the world with a positive mindset. And you'll be able to explore leadership, empowerment, being purpose-driven, mentorship, coaching, resilience to greatness, emotional intelligence, mental health, and many, many more topics, including spiritual growth. And I also have a free transformation guide available for you. It's available on my website, www.risetogreaterheights.com. You know, growing up, I didn't have much because my father decided to have an early departure from this planet Earth. But I had everything because of my mama's love. And I love you so much, Mom. So I think whosoever said that the sky is the limit was wrong. From today on, I, Nampumelelo Riel Kunene, believe that the sky is our point of view. So let's all rise to greater heights. Thank you. Thank you so much, amazing speakers. So at this moment, please feel free to share your final thoughts on the subject, human rights, to our viewers online before we wrap up. I'm just going to check if we have any questions from the audience. But any speaker really can just jump in and share your final thoughts.
Well, I thank you for this opportunity to speak and to share and to hear from other great speakers around the world. Thank you for the work that you're doing, Riel. I think this is important. I think what you're doing is needed, it's necessary. And I think this is a great way to help advocate and become and help everyone else understand and know their human rights. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Good information, everyone. I really appreciate this opportunity. But in ending, I just want to say that everyone around the world, our rights are being infringed in one form or another, you know? So let us be advocates. Let's be the light, the people who bring hope and light by standing up and speaking for the people who can't speak. You know, I'm a teacher by profession, and until recently, I just realized that it's not anyone who can come in public and speak. And, you know, a lot of people, they have things, they have thoughts, they want to share, but it's not in them to come out here, to come out and talk, either on a social media platform or just in a classroom. So I just want to share that if you have something, if you have a burden, a passion in your heart, if you have a calling and you can be able to speak, please take advantage of it, because now we are living in the best time globally where we can share information without borders. It's like the pandemic broke down all the borders. We have all become one. You know, my church here in Roseville, you know, before the pandemic, we were like 3,000 members, my church. And then the pandemic came, the churches closed down, and then it's like, okay, we have to go online. And the pastors were worried. They are like, oh my God, what's going to happen? You know, but guess what? The second week in church, we had 40,000 people logging on online. I had goosebumps. I'm like, oh my God. And from there, it's like fire. The church has grown. People are connecting from every part of the world. It's amazing. People were coming in from like Indonesia, you know, Australia, South America, and it's like amazing. And the pastor just came and was sharing that, you know what, we were worried, and then he shared the statistics. Say after the pandemic, it's like the pandemic destroyed all the borders. So that's what I'm just sharing, is like, let's be brave, let's be bold, let's be fearless, let's connect. Even if you don't have the, you know, the courage to speak up, share your thoughts with somebody, connect with somebody, and work with somebody. Speaking is not the only thing that needs to be done, it's teamwork. So we can connect in so many ways, join a group. You don't have to be a speaker, but there's so many things you can do to make things work. Like things happen in a team. Any movement that happened, it was a big team. You know, people have to think, put ideas together and move forward. And I'm just in ending, we are blessed with this social media platform where we can connect, such as we did today. My wonderful panelists, I've never met you, but we met online and we are developing new relationships. We are achieving bigger things. We are reaching corners of the world we never thought we would. So guys, let's be connected. And if you are watching, get involved, do something. People need help. Even in America here, you know, food is not a problem in America, but there are other problems. So we need to help that. For example, nationality is one big thing, because a lot of people want to come here and get American nationality, but they end up being stateless. So that's a big challenge that we need to work and help people and give them information. Otherwise, thank you so much. Nampumelelo, you are shedding light. You are shedding your light across the world. God bless you, and may God bless the passion, the vision that you have started, to give you more years so you can accomplish a lot. Thank you so much, guys. And I end here.
Wow. Thank you so much, Pomola. You know, it's so funny that today we don't have any questions from the audience, but we have many individuals cheering us up. Barry Overton, he's saying that powerful information shared today. Thank you so much, Barry, for joining us today, and to all of our viewers online, and to all our amazing speakers for sharing such a timely needed message on human rights. So I believe that our viewers, our audience has gained more knowledge from today's podcast, and I believe that they will keep on watching the replay up until like they get tired of the information. But thank you so much, amazing speakers, for being with us today. Thank you. So to our viewers online, please, thank you so much for joining us today at Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. I hope you've been inspired, motivated, and ready to rise to greater heights. Thank you. Merci. Siyabonga.
Thank you.
Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. Only one I say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. Only one I say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody set the lack of flames. No,
Living my life to the fullest and shout out my halala to the fullest. Let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights as long as I'm